In this lesson, we're going to be going over the individual components in the synthesizer, really understand what components, electrical specifically, are used to build these, how they sound, and how we can use these to shape sounds for sound design. So the first section of the synth we're going to talk about is the oscillator section. In this synthesizer, we have 3 oscillators that are all independent of each other, but we can sync them. We'll talk about that a little later. Right now, let's just start with one oscillator, and we're going to listen to a saw wave. Now I'm going to initialize the synthesizer. When you initialize a synth, basically what that means is to reset it to its base patch. Now every synthesizer, when you turn it on, has a base patch, and that's what I just set it to. Right now, the base patch is a sawtooth wave, and I'm going to play a middle C sawtooth, which you guys have heard before. Here it is. So, although that sound is somewhat boring, it's a nice basis for us to build a lot of different stuff off of. For instance, we can take this, move it down an octave, even farther, or move it up. Back to the middle. Now, we can even take this and we can change the shape of the sawtooth wave to get a desired sound that we want to start actually manipulating through the synth. So for instance, if I take the shape mod and I sweep it, you'll be able to really hear how the sawtooth is changing from its basic sawtooth to its modded shape. And we're back. Now, the whole idea is, with this synthesizer, we have 3 oscillators. So we can take one oscillator, pair it with another, with a different sound, mix those two together to get a very complex, harmonically complex sound that has a lot of information for us to now take away from and get something that we really like to use. The next type of wave I'm going to show you guys is called a triangle wave. Now, a triangle wave is probably the softest type of wave. And when I say soft, it's the softest on the ears. Because when you start to filter that, it really brings off that top end and makes for smooth sounds. I'm talking about, really nice key sounds like tines and Rhodes. You can really build those kind of patches with this kind of wave. This is how it sounds. And we'll change the shape mod for it. Now the last type of wave I'm going to show you is a square wave. This is how a square wave sounds. Then again, we can change the shape of this by sweeping through. Now with a square wave, when you change the shape, it actually changes the width of the square. So either it's a very small rectangle or it gets bigger based on where you're at. If you heard at the end there, the sound cut out because we actually made the square so small that the oscillation became nothing. One more time for that. The filter section, this takes out unwanted frequencies, whether low or high, or even in the middle, depending on the synth you have, and gives you more of a desired sound that you want. Think of it as like a water filter, taking out particles out of the water that you don't want and giving you clean water out of the output. This is the whole idea with this. Let's listen to a filter sweep taking out the high frequencies of a sawtooth. So you can hear how we can tame sounds by using the filter. Now, on this synth, I have 3 types of filters. One made by Sequential, one made by Moog, and one made by Oberheim. These 3 different filters have different characteristics and will actually change the way the sound sweeps. Let's listen to those real quick. That was the Moog. That was the Sequential. And that was the Oberheim filter. And using the envelopes with this to shape the way the filter actually responds to the sound can really allow you to sound design your stuff into something that's really unique. Just a few of the parameters you can change on a filter are the resonance, the drive, and the actual filter cutoff. The filter cutoff will decide at what frequency point are you cutting off and filtering out those frequencies, whether from the low side or from the high side. The resonance actually increases the amplitude at the cutoff point, and if you increase this enough, you can even get self-oscillation of the filter. The drive, when you increase the resonance, brings up the low end to account for the loss in low end when you increase the resonance. Using these three in conjunction with each other can really shape the filter in ways that can't be done with just the cutoff. So the last section we're going to talk about in this lesson is the envelope section. Now this is where you can really shape the way the filter responds and the way the volume of the sound you're building responds. Now in this synth, I have 4 envelopes, 2 auxiliary that can be sent anywhere, a filter envelope dedicated to the filter, and an amplitude envelope dedicated to controlling the volume of the actual sound we're building. So, for instance, if I turn the amount down on the amplitude envelope, can't hear anything because the volume's at 0. If I turn this all the way to 100%, full volume, right? So we have a few parameters on these envelopes. You have your attack, decay, sustain, and release. Your attack is how long it's going to take before the sound starts to play. The decay is how long before we reach the sustain level, and the release is how long the sound plays after you release the note. The same idea is for the filter. The attack, delay, sustain, release works the same way, except instead of controlling the volume of the sound, we're controlling the way the filter responds. So if you turn the attack up on the filter actually won't start opening up or closing until the certain point you've set. Then you can close the filter or open it back up to the sustain point, and then the release again is once you've released the notes, how long without filter decay to the point you've set it to. In this video, we talked about the different components found in subtractive synthesizers, specifically oscillators, filters, and envelopes. If you'd like to know more about these, you can check out the advanced course where we go into each one of these more in depth and talk about the electrical components used and all that different type of stuff. Thanks.